Hey everyone, so as you remember, I'm Rebecca, the lab coordinator. I explained to you guys all kind of like when I collected your I-9 documents, I explained that either someone's gonna have to walk you through the lab to kind of get you more oriented and where everything is, but I went ahead and decided to do a video just so that you could all receive the same information. And so basically, beginning of the semester, I'm not gonna be around. I'm gonna have to take a little bit of small leave, but I will be around relatively quickly. So if you guys have any questions, you can still reach out to me. I'll be available through email, and as well, I will share my phone number with you guys. So you can text me in case an emergency happens. So, being a TA, like I explained in person, you guys are gonna be another set of hands to the faculty. This is advised. So when students are here present, I need you to be aware of what they're wearing, what they're doing, that they're using their goggles, the gloves, fume hoods when needed. They're all using it when needed. When chemicals are out and about, as long as the professor's okay with them not having the goggles on, that's fine. But once chemicals start to be opened, goggles need to be on, not on the forehead. And you also need to know where all these safety things are located. For example, we have our first aid kit, which is here. Fire blanket, fire extinguisher, and then we have our eye wash and safety shower. Of course, there's no drain here, so in the emergency that you need to use your shower, students need to be, either you or the professor is going to guide the student who needs to use a shower. Underneath here, clothes need to start coming off, pull the shower so that water is going down. I think it's released 20 gallons per minute, so it's going to start to flood. But it's a necessary thing that we need to do in case the student spills chemicals on them. Jamie's going to go more into detail of when you would use that rather than just the sink of washing it off or even the eye wash. In her training that she's going to do with you guys that first week during X period, either that Monday or Tuesday, and she will reach out to you guys in an email later on. Another thing that you guys need to be aware of is the spill kit. That's another thing that she's going to talk about during that training. It'll be right here. And then our glass waste disposal will be here. We have our dustpan and our broom here. When glass breaks, never pick up the straw with your hands. Always do the broom and the dustpan. Even if it's something that's wet or if it's something that's in the sink, go ahead and just all sweep it up and pour it in there. The box obviously is cardboard, but there's an internal plastic bag, so the box won't be wet or start to crumble after multiple uses. Never stick your hand in the box, you will most likely be cut. And now the dumbwaiter area. Oh, it's unlocked. So usually this door is going to be locked first thing in the morning. You can always go to the main office to get a key for it when you're, setting up at first, or your professor might already be here when you guys show up. But here in the dumbwaiter area is where we have more of our supplies. Here we have our glassware cabinet. This is where you'll be getting everything that you need, glass-wise, or all the smaller scale stuff. So, your beakers all on this side, Erlenmeyers are here. These are extra glassware, volumetric caps, volumetrics, and then volumetric pipettes. We have our bigger volumetrics here. Always store them tip up. That way when they're drying, they dry out correctly. Even over your eggs. Make sure that these are also open so that anything that's in them will dry out. Which these are all kind of glass, so and then here we have other basic stuff that you guys will probably need depending on the lab. All of this is going to be shared between both 202 and 206. So whether you're having lab in 202 or 206, they're basically the same lab, it's just mirrored. So everything's located in 202 will be located on the opposite side in 206. And yes. So here we have our labels so that you guys know exactly where things will be needed or maybe placed back. And of course, if there's for some reason that you can't find something, ask your professor, text me, You can even ask Miss Freeman. She will be around in case of emergencies. Here we have another shelf with just a few more things that you might need. Over here, actually, we will also have things that you might need into a particular lab. For example, this one's labeled with thermo for Chem 2. These are test tubes that are only used for either Chem 1 or Chem 2 thermo or gas calls. And then this is thermo for Chem 1. So these are just extra things that we don't actually keep upstairs. This is also the gas calls that we don't keep upstairs, and we actually keep it down here because nobody else uses it in the department. And here is where we have our prep kit. So as you can see, there's going to be a bin with a label of whatever lab is going on, and your chemicals that you would need or reagents that you need will be in it. So for the most part, we tend to keep only what is needed in here for one section. As an example, with acid-base titration in Chem 1, you guys are going to be using an unknown concentration of NaOH. So we tend to keep it around 2 liters in the bin, but of course that's only enough for one section. So you're most likely going to be seeing 4-liter jugs of extra reagents that you need, that you will just be refilling as needed whenever you're either done with lab or about to start lab. If you're the last person who's doing lab and you're cleaning up, the kits go back on the prep part. If you're the first person who's doing lab and you need to help set up, you will take the prep kit with you and set up as needed in your lab. Here we have another shelf, obviously, but this one is more of like your vernier supplies. So here is where we're gonna have our spectrovisors. Here we'll have any accessories that we need with spectrovisors, whether it's the cables, the optical probes, or the cuvettes. These are usually kept in here, but yes, you can get whatever you need as needed. Here we have our power sources for the hydrogen lamps or any other elemental lamps. Here is where we keep the pH meters. They're not currently here, but they will usually be in a blue bin right here, along with the chargers. And then here is where we have the radiation monitors. This is actually part of a newish lab that Ms. Freeman wrote up. So if you're doing this lab in Chem 1, you can find them here. And then we have our radioactive sources in these white boxes back here. But again, if you have any questions, you would just ask your professor to help you in what you need. And then here is where we have our disposable stuff. So you'll find your parafilm, labels, chem wipes, disposable transfer pipettes, the weight boats, filter paper, which is kind of running low, but I'll get that refilled, and your gloves. So we go from extra small to extra large. We tend to have 2 boxes down here if possible, just in case of emergency, but as you can see, the medium box is like just recently opened, so that's why there's still only 1 box here. Paper towels and hand soap. So whenever when something runs out in your lab, come over here, check if there's something here that you can get to refill your lab. If not, then it'll be something that we have to bring up from the stockroom. So again, you can reach out to me, reach out to Jamie, or Miss Freeman, my bad, or someone in the main office. They should be able to help you get into the stockroom. And over here is where we have our glassware soap. So if it's running low, here are the instructions to how to make it. But for the most part, all you really need to do is just grab this big jug and refill your soap as you need it. The DI water, obviously, is the middle. In the sink, it'll be the middle faucet. Yes, faucet. You just refill that as needed as well. And then these are 2 buttons that Ms. Freeman will be speaking about. This one shuts off the. No, this one sends an alert to the police station and the building, letting everybody know that there's been an accident. And this one shuts off all the water, the electricity, the gas. No one's had to push on either of these buttons, but they are here in cases of emergency. And yes, like I said, both 202 and 206 are pretty much the same. You guys use the same stuff. We just kind of change up what lab section is going on in which lab. If I remember correctly, 202 is doing Chem 1 and 1402. No, Chem 1 only. And then 206 is doing Chem 2, 1402, and 2450. And last but not least, here we have these clear plastic things. I put the calendar here, and there's another one on that side by that doorway as well. But so basically, I like to let you guys know ahead of time what labs you're doing. So what I try to do is have the previous week that was the previous week, current week, and the next week. So this is only going to be sticking to whatever labs you're having in your actual lab room. So if you want to like come over here and see, oh, like who did something on Monday, you would see, oh, so-and-so did this lab on Monday, I have a lab on Tuesday. It's the same lab, setup is be the same, and then you can even see who's having lab on Wednesday and be like, oh, they're doing the same thing as well. I'll just leave everything set up as it is. If they do something different, then you know that you would need to clean up. If you're the last lab that's doing that lab, you would need to clean up for them, and then their TA will be able to set up and not really waste that much time having to clean up. You can go back over here. So of course, in your actual lab, you guys know most of where everything's at. Like we have our hot plates, we have graduated cylinders, funnels, wash glasses, test tube holders, and wool plates, as well as our wire mesh. Down here, we have burette stands, and then we have regular stands. These stands over here can be used for ring clamps or just regular clamps as you see fit, whatever lab you're doing. And then of course we have our Bunsen burners, clamps, test tubes, and more test tube holders if you need them. It just really depends on the professor whether they want to use these or the different ones that are located over there on that shelf. Oh my gosh. So, fume hoods. Use them when you need to. Your professor will let you know when you need to use them. And for the most part, waste will be located in the fume hood. Ms. Freeman is going to most likely have waste containers set up when needed. Whether they're long-term waste containers, this is an example, a long-term waste container, or whether if it's a temporary waste container, such as a Erlenmeyer flask that she has set up with a funnel and filter paper, and then she will deal with the overall waste collected on the back end. And then on this side of the fume hood, we have two QR codes. One is for a laboratory near miss report form, and one is for a incident report form. So here below, we kind of have our definitions of whether something's a near miss or an incident. Whether you or the professor have more of information of what happened, it'll just depend on either one of you to fill these out. So of course, you can use your phone and get I think it's a Google form that we just fill out. And here we have Jamie's cell number. You're more than welcome to use it if an emergency arises. And of course, my cell number as well, which I will also be just providing with you in the email when I send out this video, that you guys, again, can text me when there's an emergency, or if you need to let somebody know that you might not make it into lab today for an illness or another reason, or in general, if you have a question like, hey, like so-and-so needs this, I can't find it. Is there any way that you can give me a little bit more guidance, or who I need to talk to about obtaining this certain item? But yeah, that's pretty much it. Of course, keep an eye out to make sure your soap bottles and DI bottles are filled up at the beginning of lab. If you have time, fill them up at the end of lab. That way the next lab is not having to refill them up if they don't have the time. But yes, for the most part, this is pretty much it for labs 202 and 206. And again, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to send me a text or an email, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Oh, and TA sheets, my bad. So here we have our TA sheets. These tend to cover mostly just Chem 1 and Chem 2, but these are basically your little cheat sheets of what you need for setting up certain labs. So let's say chemical reactions. So here we kind of have the items needed in the prep kit, any additional things that you might need that might be around in the lab, any lab notes that you might need to know about, and disposal. So Yes, here, for example, Miss Freeman would have went ahead and set up the waste containers, but you would need to know what goes into which container, or which flask. So this reaction mixture, and so on. So yes, these are more of just your tidbits of information that you need for different labs. Also, if you guys need any waste labels for some reason, here you can find the labels. But like I said, Ms. Freeman will most likely be doing that beforehand, so that's not something that you will need to be worried about. But just kind of keep an idea about it, that waste need to be disposed of correctly based on the blue sheet. Yes, and that's pretty much it. So hopefully this video makes sense and it gives you guys all the information that you need. And again, if you have any questions, you can always send me an email, send me a text, and I'm here to answer your questions.